Hi, this is a quick demo of the SonarSQL capability within the JSOnar Analytics platform. Um, SonarSQL is a SQL enabling layer to SonarW. So SonarW is a NoSQL Big Data Warehouse. It keeps data as JSON documents. It's very fast, very scalable, but some people still prefer to use SQL in order to access data, and JSONR allows you to do that through SonarSQL. And I'll show you two things on how that's done. One is a direct access, and one is access through a BI tool. So first, the way it works is this layer called SonarSQL is actually a MySQL proxy. And so to the outside world, it looks like you're accessing data within SonarW as if it was a MySQL database. But of course, everything is translated into the NoSQL aggregation pipelining language. And so the way that I connect to it is using any standard MySQL driver. So it could be the MySQL shell itself. It could be a driver for any particular language. And then I could do things like show databases, and I could use a database. I can say use SonarGD, and then I can do stuff like show tables, and I could do something like select count star from full SQL, and even the autocomplete works. Okay, and you can see that this is, this particular collection has something like 2.7 billion records. So it's not, of course, it's not sitting in MySQL, it's sitting in the SonarW database. And every query that I do, it gets converted into NoSQL. So for example, if I do select star from session limit 1 just to see the structure, okay, this is what it looks like. If I do something like select server type, comma count star from session group by 1, okay, then I'm doing group by using one of these fields, and it gives me the answer. And the interesting thing is when you do an explain on this thing, it'll show you exactly what the NoSQL query that went into the warehouse looks like. Okay, so that's one example. The second example is I'm going to fire up Tableau, and Tableau is one of the leading BI vendors, of course. And what I'll do is I'll run queries on the NoSQL database, but I'll do it from within Tableau. So of course Tableau doesn't have direct support for any of the NoSQL databases, but because it has support for MySQL, I can just as easily access the SonarW NoSQL database. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to query data within a SonarG system. SonarG is a big data warehouse for Guardian data. And so it's just convenient for me. I have a whole bunch of data for that. So I'll connect to this server by giving the server and the connection parameters to this warehouse. And as far as Tableau is concerned, I'm really querying a MySQL database, but of course I'm not. So I'll pick the SonarGD database, which is where all my Guardian data resides, and I'll show you a few examples. First example is I'm going to use the buff usage data, which, what SonarG does is it aggregates all the data from all Guardian collectors. So it's a whole bunch of data, puts it into a centralized big data warehouse. And that includes all the audit and monitoring, vulnerability assessment data, but also the operational metrics like, what's the rate and what's the disk usage and all the collectors. And I can query that. So I'll drag the buff usage table over here. Maybe I can look at a few to make sure that it's what I think they look like. And once I look at the data and I say, yeah, this is kind of what my data looks like, I can create a worksheet. So I'll go to the worksheet, and for example, what I want to do is I want to plot, the disk usage versus time. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll drag the timestamp and I'll put it up here in the columns. And what I really want is not the entire timestamp, but just the day. And then I'll drag the parameter that I care about, which is system var disk usage. I'll drag that to the rows. Okay, so I get this. This is actually not exactly what I want because I don't want the sum. You see how it says sum over here? I'll change that to the max measure. Okay, and maybe what I want to do is I want to filter this. I want to filter this maybe not to all the machines. Maybe I want to look at one collector at a time. So I'll drag the host name to the filter, and I'll pick one of my collectors. And now I get the disk usage for that collector called China 2 over time. Just an example of how easy it is to get access to data that lives within SonarW or SonarG from within pretty much any tool in the world. Now, of course, this example in itself is not that meaningful. I would never do this from Tableau because within SonarG itself is something called the collector dashboard. And what the collector dashboard does is it allows you to see all the operational information for all the collectors that are aggregating data into SonarG. So for example, if I go to this tab over here, which shows me collector detailed stats, I'll get a graph. In this case, kind of the blue line is the disk usage, right? This is kind of system memory. This is machine load, but you can see that the blue line is similar to what this blue line is because really querying the same data. Here you have a few more features, like you can zoom in and out very easily. And you have things like heat maps to show you which machines are running hot, which machines are running cold. But all this, the idea is, this dashboard is directly accessing using NoSQL queries, and Tableau is accessing using relational queries. So let me do another really quick example, and I'll get rid of the buff usage, and instead I'll do queries on sessions. Okay, so I'll drag the session quote-unquote table. It's not a real table. It's really a NoSQL collection. I'll make sure that this is the table that I want to access. Yeah, and then I'll go to another worksheet. And again, for example, here I have all of the attributes of the sessions. So say that I want to know how many sessions I had, in my entire database for based on the type. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll drag the server type and I'll drop it into this field over here. And then what I'll do is I'll drag the number of records to this field over here. Okay, so now this is doing a complex aggregation, but it is running very fast because it's all happening on the Big Data Warehouse. So it is a very fast query. And then I can keep going. I can say, but now I want to break it down not just by server type, but I want to also break it down by, let's say, the service name. So I drag the service name also into here. And again, what's happening behind the scenes, I'm just doing this within Tableau, so it all looks really easy to do. But what's happening, Tableau is making SQL queries that are then going to the SonarSQL proxy, get translated into a NoSQL query that gets serviced by the Big Data Warehouse. Okay, and then, so here I can say, let me drill down on this. So I can say, keep only this one. So click here, say keep only. Then maybe within this server type and service name, maybe I want to know which server IPs this data is for, and I can keep going. So again, all the data within SonarG or SonarW is always very easy accessible. This was a quick demo of how you would use Tableau or other SQL interfaces to access there are various other demos on how you would use JSON Studio and various NoSQL tools to access the same data. Thanks for joining, and look at the other demos. Bye.